Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Crypto Lark. I have with me today Jordan Earls from QTUM. Jordan, welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm the co-founder and lead developer of QTUM, and yeah, here to answer questions and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're really busy, so I wanted to start off with what brought you to QTUM in the first place? What about this project of all the other projects out there you went and looked and go, wow, that's something we need to work on. That's something to develop. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I guess it's easier to kind of start from the very beginning, just to give a history of how I joined the project and everything. So back in the, still kind of in the, crypto winter of 2016,
so long ago.
Yeah. Yeah. But so Patrick, the other co-founder and guy who kind of started it all, he basically got a hold of me through a mutual friend of ours, and basically described to me he wanted proof of stake, Bitcoin, UTXO kind of blockchain, and Ethereum smart contracts, which, sure, those are all kind of not easy to do, but, possible pieces, but all together in one project was very ambitious, I would say. But, I was talking to Patrick about his whole vision and bringing these smart contracts and everything to mobile devices and IoT, and then being able to more easily upgrade the blockchain itself and everything. And basically from that point, it was kind of when I was sold on the idea, and I went forward with the other co-founders and everything, basically taking all the ideas and making them actually possible technically.
Nice. I think it was a good challenge to lay down, hey, we have all these disparate pieces. Let's bring it together. Let's make this happen. And I think that's one of the things that's always excited me about QTUM is it's got all these different elements that make it very robust, which is exciting. Now, you have reviewed 100+ altcoins. What are the lessons that you learned from doing all of that?
Probably the biggest one would be that a lot of people lie and try to scam. Kind of one of the big things was just I began in the whole space knowing nothing, and then I reviewed all those altcoins, thought I knew a little bit, and by the end of it, I feel like I know even less than I did before somehow. Intricate code and everything, and there's one example of a coin, I can't remember the name of it, but they had an exploit where you could if you knew about this certain thing, you could mine the coin faster, so you could get more blocks, more coins, more money. And I reviewed it 3 different times. It wasn't until the 3rd time that I actually caught the problem that was there. And so it was really eye-opening that even the people who may think that they're experts in the space are kind of still figuring things out.
That's it. It's really interesting, I think, that perspective, because you've seen all these different projects. You've seen the goods, the bads, the uglies, and then we're able to come to QTUM and go, okay, let's do this, guys. Now, you guys over at QTUM are trying to really focus on mobile dApps. What's the kind of idea behind that?
The big thing is not really us building the dApps ourselves, but basically giving the tools to these businesses and stuff. Because if you want to build decentralized Uber, people aren't going to sit there with their laptop ordering an Uber to come pick them up. They're going to use their phone. So having that phone and mobile functionality, I feel like it was kind of the big next step for smart contracts, and bringing them I always go back to basically you'll know that smart contracts and blockchain is mainstream whenever you use an application and it does everything you need it to and whatever, and you don't even know it uses blockchain. Whenever we reach that point, if I feel like when it will be like considered mainstream. And like you basically have to be able to do that for mobile devices to like enable common applications.
Yeah, definitely the world is going mobile, and for a lot of people, that's all they have. They just access YouTube and all these different applications that they use via their mobile device, especially in the developing world.
And also, I mean, we kind of like came out of China initially, and that also kind of, I guess, gave us that mobile perspective because, in China, like no one owns a laptop. It's very weird, but like they pay bills, do emails, everything on their phone. So like being able to like completely interact with this whole blockchain and smart contract space and making your own dApps and stuff from your phone is like one of the important things for, getting like, becoming popular there and everything.
Yeah, you have to go where the people are, and if people are on their phones, that's what you need to develop a product to suit that. Now you guys are doing a hybrid Bitcoin Ethereum model. Why did you choose to go with this? What was the rationale behind trying to bring, all this together?
So the big thing is we wanted like basically the interoperability and everything that comes with Bitcoin. So like Bitcoin, you have like the light wallets and all that's already working. Like it's been working for years. If you use a mobile phone with a Bitcoin wallet, then it's probably using the what's called the SPV protocol with it. But anyway, and so there's that, and then the other thing is that the Bitcoin UTXO model kind of is more expandable, and it's also more stable in a way. I mean, it's been around since Bitcoin itself, and it's not had to be changed or anything, and there's been no problems with it.
And so it's highly robust, right? Which is what you want in your blockchain.
Yeah, and then of course we also wanted to take, the top dog Ethereum. They're like still the top dog for smart contracts. And so we basically wanted to merge those two together to where we get like these interoperable, like, if you run an exchange and you support Bitcoin, it's trivial to support Quantum. And also to be able to piggyback on those protocols, like we've actually taken that mobile SPV protocol for light wallets and have extended it to where it works for smart contracts as well. And so that's kind of was our vision, was bringing kind of the best of both worlds.
Nice. Now, currently you guys are ranking, about 70 transactions per second? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, yeah. What's the scaling plan? Because I know you got both, you're working with Bitcoin, Ethereum codes here. Would you go to Lightning or would you go to Raiden? If you wanted to do off-chain scaling, of course.
Yeah. Right now, we're still kind of waiting for things to play out just because there's a lot of people that have already gotten started on this path, and we're kind of wanting to see where they go. But one of the things that we are going to be focusing on, like going into like 2019, late 2018, is going to be like payment channels. So basically similar to Lightning Network, but we want to kind of add a few things into the mix where we have like governance within these payment channels. Centralized governance protocol that can be used for smart contracts, but can also be used for administering these channels and everything. And so we kind of want to see like that kind of approach come for basic I want to send money to you transactions. The other big scaling problem is themselves, and that requires state channels and everything. We're not really sure where we're going on that one yet, but we're right now just focused on payments.
Okay, interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of people working on it, so it's not a bad idea to sit back and say, okay, well, let's see how the space is developing a little bit. Because I guess at the moment, what's sort of the average amount of transactions going across the quantum network at the moment?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I know there's like probably 10 to 20 transactions per block, and that's every 2 minutes. So it's still like, you know, pretty slow. And then every once in a while it'll be like a nearly full block. But, you know,
Yeah.
we're like prepared for the future too, though, because we have that whole decentralized governance protocol. So later, if the blocks become full and we need to, you know, increase the block size, we can do that without having to actually disrupt the whole ecosystem and make everyone
2 years of drama.
Yeah, and avoid a lot of drama. So.
Cool. And I think the scaling is going to come quicker than you probably even you guys realize. There's so much enthusiasm for blockchain technology right now, and of course so many people looking to build their dApps. So certainly there's been a lot of dApps being built recently on Quantum as well. We're going to come to those in a few minutes, or at least a little bit more about that. But what about interoperability? I know there's a lot of guys right now who are working on blockchain interoperability. How do you guys factor in with all that?
Yeah, so we are looking at, you know, being able to do, I can't remember what the project's called. I think, can't remember. We're looking into one project that does like the whole, you know, interoperable mini blockchains. And also, I mean, we're already compatible with like the atomic swap where, you know, there's like a while back, I think it was Litecoin and maybe Bitcoin or Dogecoin or something, I don't know. But we're compatible with that same kind of atomic swap technology, like trustless. It's still, you know, clunky and hard to use is the problem.
Yeah, the user experience needs to be definitely worked on with atomic swaps, but because you have the Bitcoin code, you're accessible to all those other Bitcoin code coins. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Why did you guys choose proof of stake over proof of work? You know, proof of work has those years and years of provability that it's been secure. What about proof of stake? What was the rationale behind choosing it?
So proof of work to us is very wasteful. I mean, I know it's, you know, securing a blockchain and everything, and that has value, but, you know, wasting an entire country's worth of electricity to, you know, make magic internet money. It was just kind of, we're looking for a better solution. So we also believe that, so first of all, we use like a different proof of stake than like what most coins these days call themselves whenever they're called proof of stake. So there is no like master nodes. There's no, you know, there can only be 7 validators, or you have to have a minimum deposit of 10 million coins or something like that. Our system is very fair. It's just basically a randomized lottery kind of. And so anyone can stake. There's actually like, I think 3,000 or 4,000 nodes on the network. Not all of them are staking, but right now about 20 million quantum out of 100 million total are being staked. And so that's like a pretty good number. And then like anyone can stake. There's been, in the past, there's someone that won a block, which for 1 block of quantum, you get 4 quantum as a reward. And there's actually someone that found a block with only 0.2 quantum being staked. And I think the odds of that are like 600 years or something like that. So they got lucky. But you know, we believe that really this kind of staking, this very fair and decentralized system kind of lives up to Satoshi's original vision of a decentralized blockchain where all these different people are coming together and agreeing on these rules. And, you know, it's not just a couple, like 3 or 4 mining farms with $10 million facilities. So I think it's like a lot more fair and a lot more community-based.
Now, your nodes are growing as well. You guys have a recent partnership with, is it Baofeng? And they're aiming to help you guys get up to about 50,000 nodes. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, my understanding, Patrick's probably the better guy to ask about this, but my understanding is basically going to be like a quantum node in like all these little set-top TV box devices.
Cool.
So like a box, kind of, but and basically all of them will have like their own copy of the quantum blockchain and everything. And then I can't remember what exactly they're going to be doing on the blockchain itself, but Yeah.
That's a lot of nodes, though. That's going to put you guys right at the front when that gets kicked off. And of course, one of the really exciting things about Quantum, space. You guys are putting satellites into space. In fact, the first one's already gone up, right?
Yeah. So just to be clear, that was part of Space Chain. So there are one of our decentralized apps that are building on Quantum. We don't necessarily like have a association with them, but it is really cool that they like, you know, launched a Quantum node into space, and they're basically building their own constellation of like mini CubeSats to provide decentralized internet. And in theory, like, because it's a full node running on a Raspberry Pi in space, and there's a lot of people using Raspberry Pis for staking, you could in theory actually send that node in space some Quantum, and it could create blocks and stake from space. So that's like a pretty cool idea, I think.
That's pretty cool. I like it indeed. What has been the response of, I guess, the developer community to building on Quantum?
Yeah, so when we first started out, I mean, we're still doing, but we started going to these hackathons at like usually there'll be like a 24-hour hackathon or something before a conference. Like I think one of the first ones we did was distributed trade, and that was in Nashville, I think. But anyway, so we go to these hackathons, basically give a little workshop. Here's how to get started with Quantum, and then out of that, there'll be a few projects that build on Quantum and everything. And so at first, it was definitely very shaky. And we still have a long way to go as far as like, you know, making it easy for developers to build on Quantum.
Mm-hmm.
But we're making good steps toward that. We actually have a tool called QMix now, which is similar to Ethereum's Remix. And so that's like, you know, building your own contract within a browser and everything. And we're working on a thing called QMask, which is basically MetaMask but Quantum, so you can actually like use contracts in your browser. And then of course we've like improved a lot on our documentation since then. Yeah, so but there's been several dApps that have already like been built, and like I think which one is it? Inkchain, I think, is like already launched and being used in VVU as well. And yeah, so like I think that even though we're young and we still have a long way to go as far as making it easy, we already have like a pretty good. We've made quite a bit of progress already, I think, especially since, you know, we've only been released for like what, 6 months now. So
it's pretty impressive, the growth of really all the projects, but you guys in particular, right at the forefront of people coming over and building on top of Quantum. So definitely there's a lot of really exciting projects being built on Quantum too. You know, Space Chain's a really exciting idea, but there's a lot that are coming up too. If you kind of look ahead a little bit, there's a lot going on, and that's great to see that people see your blockchain as a great place to build.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
And one of the cool things is like there's actually a project called Matchpool, and they basically, because we're like compatible with the whole Ethereum ecosystem as well as you know, our own chain. So Matchpool actually built a Quantum. I think their token is called like GUP or something. So they have like QGUP, and then they have like Ethereum-based GUP.
Well, interesting.
So they have two different tokens, and they work with both of them at the same time. And so, you know, I think that's like a major inroad for us as far as like, you know, if people aren't too sure if they want to bet all their eggs on us or whatever.
I think the great part is, of course, that all the Ethereum smart contracts are interoperable with Quantum.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
That really it makes it easy, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it uses all the same kind of tooling and everything too. So, you know, it's great for developers because they don't have to learn anything, but then it's great for us because we didn't have to build it all.
I want to talk about the engine for a minute, the x86 VM. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's our upcoming VM. So just to give a quick overview, basically, Quantum was designed initially to support multiple virtual machines, so multiple smart contract platforms, basically. And initially, we only built in the Ethereum virtual machine because it was already built and easier to integrate in everything, and popular, of course. So the x86 VM is kind of our first independent VM, and basically what it will do is emulate like basically the processor that's like in your MacBook. And so any programming language and tooling that runs on your MacBook really can be used to write smart contracts with. So that includes mainstream programming languages that people actually know, like C++ and Rust and Go and Python and others.
Not just pigeonholing people into using Solidity.
Yeah, and I mean, also it increases the hiring pool to where you can actually hire these people that have been in the industry for decades, but they don't want to learn some new process and new language and everything and work with something that's like halfway experimental. And
now you guys are also going to be bringing in AI to the equation here. How does the x86 VM utilize AI?
So it doesn't really utilize it so much as enable it.
Right.
So we actually are going to have a concept called like trusted libraries. So in theory, later we can actually have like native code for running like some computationally intensive AI program to make decisions in your smart contracts and things like that. But we'll have that to where we can actually have native code for that runs, as fast as your regular computer does, instead of like slow on the blockchain. And that can be done without having to fork or like upgrade all the software and everything like that. Because again, the whole x86 VM is kind of tied together with the decentralized governance protocol, so that what Ethereum calls precompiled contracts for doing like encryption and things like that, we can actually add those without needing to upgrade new software and to have a fork to enable that. So that's probably like one of the most exciting things, is just how it will enable computation that wasn't previously possible on a blockchain without like big custom process and forks and everything.
Very cool. Are there any plans to bring in any other virtual machines, maybe from Neo, for example?
Yeah, there's so probably the biggest one would probably be WebAssembly. That's kind of the x86 VM's competition. So WebAssembly is basically a browser technology, like web browser technology, that enables you to run like C++ code on a web page.
Mm-hmm.
Our problem with it is that it's still very young, very experimental and unstable, and also it's like kind of more complicated. And right now in the whole, like, it's being designed by all these by the W3C consortium or something, and all the designers are browser manufacturers. There's no smart contract representation there. So we're going to see like how that actually ends up working out for, other blockchains, and then probably integrate it later, like in 2019 or 2020, depending on, how good things go and everything.
Okay, cool. Now, you guys are also starting the Enterprise Quantum Alliance. When's that going to be kicking off, and has there been any interest from businesses already in joining that alliance?
Yeah, so the big thing with the alliance will be that we'll have support for all these enterprises and everything, and also we're going to be making a enterprise version of Quantum that basically allows you to, write some configuration file with all the how you want your blockchain configured, and then you run Quantum Enterprise, and you have a production-ready blockchain like at your fingertips. And so right now we actually do have a few companies that are building like enterprise blockchains with Quantum before we even have this complete.
Wow, great.
But I'm not for sure if it's NDA or not, so I won't mention any names.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we definitely have seen a lot of interest, and you know, I feel like the public blockchain is really awesome and everything, but one of the big potentials of this whole blockchain technology is on the enterprise and private side, because it enables so many things that traditionally use like these archaic processes, like sending a fax to a different company or whatever.
Oh, people still use faxes. My dad still writes checks. I love you, Dad, but checks, holy God. Okay. The dApp store. You guys are going to be creating a dApp store. Is this basically going to be like, you know, Google Play or whatever? Is that the kind of the idea behind the dApp store?
Kinda. So we actually have like a, I mean, you can in theory use our mobile wallet and actually deploy like a token from our dApp store. It's not really, I don't know, it's still pretty early though. But the idea is basically that, you know, you're running a coffee shop or something and you want to do a rewards token system on the blockchain. So the idea is that you basically take your phone, search for rewards system or reward token or whatever, and you find a dApp, you pay the dApp creator like some commission or whatever, and then you put in your parameters like how many tokens go to each customer or whatever, and then you push deploy and you have a new smart contract and new token and everything that just works. And you did it all from your phone and you can administer it from your phone. So that's kind of the overall vision of how that'll work. Again, it's still early, but there is actually like you can deploy a token from your mobile phone now on the QTUM mobile wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's going to be really cool when it kicks off.
Yeah.
What are the IoT applications for QTUM? What do you see, I guess, people using QTUM for in relation to IoT?
Yeah, so we're actually in a alliance called the Trusted IoT Alliance. So that provides us with a lot of like industry connections and everything to, you know, kind of understand how they're trying to use the blockchain and everything. And one of the big things that I personally see for QTUM going forward for IoT applications is basically having like a supply chain tracking. So, you know, you have these tiny little devices that, you know, communicate with the blockchain and everything. You can't run like a full blockchain node on that.
Yeah.
A microcontroller with 1 megabyte of memory or whatever. And so you basically use this FPV protocol to actually do the interaction and everything. And it's still, you know, trustless. Like you're not having to trust some third-party server to be perfectly honest and everything. And so these tiny little devices can be tagged to like, I don't know, wine or gold bars or whatever, and basically track, you know, their path through the world to the destination. And then the customer can check that device basically to make sure that it was actually where it said it was, and that it's all legit and not counterfeit or anything.
Yeah, cool. And I think you guys are working with, was it Wine Chain? Is that the one that's one of the dApps that's being built with QTUM?
That sounds familiar, but
but the application is there, right? And it's actually, you know, you scan it at every place and it gets registered on the blockchain and you can know all these details about it. So that's really cool. Next question for you. The name is QTUM. Are you worried about the threat of quantum computing moving forward?
So our name is QTUM, but it has nothing to do with quantum computing, actually. Later, we'll probably add like a quantum-resistant algorithm or something just so that people stop asking.
See, guys, we did it. We did it.
Yeah. But no, I think going forward, the threat from quantum computing is, I don't know, it's not there yet. You know, maybe in a decade, it'll be a little bit more scary. But right now, I don't think it's anything to worry about. And we're not building, like, you know, we're not trying to make everything quantum resistant using new experimental algorithms and stuff. I'd rather see that those algorithms and everything get peer reviewed, broken a few times, and then we'll integrate it basically.
Nice. First things first, get people building on your blockchain. Then worry about the quantum resistance when it's a problem. Final question for you for today. What do you see as the top trends in 2018?
Top trends are, I think, is going to be, I mean, we're releasing the whole x86 VM. And personally, I think like Rust, the programming language, will be an ideal programming language for writing smart contracts in the future. Because it's like, you know, it's designed to prevent programmer mistakes. And it's also designed to be very safe, and, you know, it kind of draws from some of the other safe languages like Ada that's used in the military and everything. And as well as that, you know, just seeing blockchains in new and interesting places, like on these mobile devices and everything. And and then governance on, because right now all these people are building these smart contracts and everything, and sure, they build them and they're secure and everything, but you know, a year down the road they get acquired by Microsoft and they need to somehow hand over control, or some other way of like basically giving Microsoft access without having to, you know, completely disrupt all their customers. And so I believe that going forward, like governance will play a big role in smart contract and app design, because you need to be able to account for these external factors, because, you know, once it's on the blockchain, it's, unless you make it to where it can be upgraded, it can't be upgraded basically. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be like a path for basically adapting to the outside world.
I think that's a really, really good idea, actually, because so many people forget that actually deciding how all this stuff works, how are we going to govern ourselves, is a super important thing. It may not be always the most exciting thing for many people, but it's actually really, really important in the development and the way to move forward with projects. So cool idea. Yeah. I like it. All right, awesome. Jordan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. It's been really interesting. I've got some really great information from what you guys are doing over there at QTUM. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me.